Welcome to the Self-Belief and Influence podcast, where we talk with people who have great influence in the Metro Detroit business community. We discuss all aspects of their journey, including the moments where they have had to draw deeply on their self-belief and inner drive to achieve their vision. My name is Keith Baldwin, and my co-host is Nathan Hardecki, and our podcast is sponsored by Regal Payments and Push Media. These conversations with our diverse guests will potentially make you re-examine your ideas about people, business, and life in general. Here's a taste of what's coming up today.
It's not the first time you get this problem. I grew up, I didn't even know that I'm going to have lunch. So I'm asking myself, Mamba, is this the first time you're getting this problem? No. All your life you've been having problems. But the problem is not to have a problem, how you solve that problem.
Let's explore and scrutinize together as we unlock the mind of today's guest to provide you with inspiration and tangible takeaways that you can choose to apply in your life. Today's guest is Mamba Hamissi. Mamba runs a very popular restaurant in downtown Detroit. He's been nominated for the James Beard Award and also recently won his episode of Chopped on the Food Network. And as you'll hear, he has a really great story with many twists and turns about how he got to where he is. Welcome, Mamba.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Kip.
Yeah, really happy to have you here. And if you live in Detroit, I'm sure you've heard of Mamba's restaurant and maybe you know a little bit of his story. It's one of the most popular restaurants downtown, serving East African cuisine. And Mamba has a great story, so very excited to have him in here. As you may tell, I have a bit of an accent. I'm from London, and I've faced a few challenges coming to this country and getting where I'm at, but kind of Mamba's story puts mine to shame, everything that he's done and achieved. So really want to kind of get into that. And one thing I want to talk about is, I know when people ask, hey, where you're from, maybe you say Burundi, but then you go to East Africa because people don't always know about Burundi. But I want to talk about Burundi and where you grew up, because if you were to look at it on the map, I think 99% of the people wouldn't be able to point exactly to where it is. Some might get in the general area, but tell us a little about the country you grew up in, Burundi.
So yeah, Burundi is a small country, it's just near east of Congo and Tanzania, Rwanda. It's a very small country, I think only 11 million population.
Landlocked, right?
Yeah, landlocked. Yeah, close to, Tanzania, which is, close to the ocean. Yeah, very beautiful country. Landscaping is great. The seasons there are amazing. Food is great. People are amazing. But unfortunately, we've been going through a lot of crises, since, I've said, 1990s, even before that one. The all time that I've been living, there was a crisis. So that is something that's, it's hurting me a lot to see the beauty of the country and the crisis that we have to deal with. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I've been doing my Burundi research, and I know that Germany and Belgium were there before 1962, before you became independent. Is there any influence still from those countries, or not really?
Yeah, a lot of influence from Belgium until now, and I don't want to blame them, but I feel like they should leave the country alone and let be independent country. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely European colonialization wasn't a great part of the world's history. But is there a lot of influence in the cuisine and the culture, or just more political still?
Yeah, the cuisine a lot. You see, the good thing about East African countries, so you have, all the mixtures. Like we have a big community from Middle Eastern, we have big community from Indian, and we have our own, cuisine, and you have colonialism. So that's the beauty of East African country, East African cuisine. You have the mixture of all this, the world culture. So everybody will eat the food and will relate to something. You will relate to something. That is the beauty of that. I'll say the culture, yeah, sometimes, our weddings, you have to do certain thing that is more European. The religion was brought, Christianism was brought by, colonialists. That is something that you feel there. Yeah.
Okay. And I know in 2018, they did a report, and I found this kind of interesting because I know it's hard to put kind of weight on these things, because they did a happiest place on the earth report, and they ranked every country. And they normally make like Scandinavian countries number one and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of countries in the world with strife. You maybe think of Yemen and other things, but they actually rank Burundi. You were last. You were last in the world's happiness chart. Does that sync with you? Or I know we'll talk about some of the problems over there, but I was like, last, really? He has to put Burundi last.
Those things I think the best, the happiest place in the world for me is Burundi, honestly,
Right.
because life is real. There is no, there's not such a thing like, what time is it now? You don't care about time. If you have a problem or if you are hungry, everybody will come and support you and help you. Me growing up, I'm coming from very, very humble beginning. So my parents was poor, and they owned this small restaurant, and they never, think about how much we're gonna save to our account. They was like, okay, we have to feed everybody. For me, that is happiness. Happiness for me is when you have a problem you can share with everybody. That's for me happiness. And then who's ranking those countries are not from Burundi, obviously. Most of the time, they've never been to Burundi. They never meet any Burundian. So I don't know what to say about that, but I think that is very subjective.
Yeah, I want to touch on that village feel you were talking about, because obviously, having moved to America, I've lived in a lot of different places, and there's some great community and that sort of thing in many towns and places in America. But in Europe, when you grow up, and maybe it's the tighter physical houses, like in England, you'd have terrace houses, and everyone would just peek over their fence and speak to each other. My wife's from Romania. We went back to her hometown, and you're in an apartment building, and within 10 minutes of being there, the neighbors running in with homemade crepes and things like that. And there's a real sense of community when you go back to these places. And you're talking about your community, everyone just kind of watches out for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's in a way over here translated a bit to nosiness. People don't want to get into other people's business, but I think that's just a negative spin on it. I think knowing everyone's business, and we talk about mental health these days, being part of everyone's lives is really helpful and joyous at times, like you say.
I like the way you say that people don't want to be involved in other people's business, but they gossip about others.
Right.
They talk behind their back. And then if you don't want to know about my business, that means you don't want to be helped and help somebody. I don't get that. Right. I don't understand.
They want to talk about your business, but they don't want to be part of helping you solve whatever issues you have.
Yeah, exactly. But something happening to you, they're going to talk about it. So for me, community is everything. Community is a key of success. Generation and generation, they get where they are because they were in community. They build everything together. And then if you're alone, you can't get there. And unfortunately, that is the world that we are living in. We are living behind the community. If you see what I like in Detroit, if you see what Detroit is built of now, couldn't survive all those crises went through without the community, strong community that they have and they're trying to build now. So for me, I believe if you don't have the community, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose the game at the end of the day. That's what is my belief, because if I see the crisis and the problem that Africa has going through, if they didn't have that strong community, wouldn't be where we are right now. Slave in this country did what they could do because they was in a community. They built together something, and they fight everything for together. Imagine if one person could, try to change things. You can't. And then at the end of the day, everything comes back to the community. Amazon, they're strong. Why? Because of the community. I do Peloton.
Yeah.
They think is all about community. At the end of the day, it's a community. Everybody, you can. Baobob Fair, we couldn't be where we are without a community. Tell me one success person who get there by themselves. None. If you go back, it's a community. It's clients. It's a church. It's a team, football, soccer. All those things is all built about the community. And then after you tell me that community is not something, I don't get it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a contradiction.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go back more into kind of how you came here, but whilst we're talking about community, I know that's something you've been very intentional to build from the moment you opened the restaurant. Baobob Fair is the name of the restaurant. Baobab is a tree. and your slogan is Detroit Ni Niombani, which means Detroit is home. Did you have that slogan from the very beginning, or you've just felt a community and you just felt at home and you just like, this is going to be my slogan?
Every time you have to check and to see where you came from before you make another step, right, forward. So came here as a refugee, didn't speak the language. Me and my wife, we stay in the shelter called Freedom House. We didn't know anybody, and then we dreamed about business. We didn't know how to start a business. We never started business before. And then that community was there to show us every step of building who we are today. Again, as I said, we couldn't be where we are without that community. And then I felt like this is home. And then again, I'm not gonna go back to Burundi and call it home, unfortunately, because I'm sure when I'm there, they're gonna be asking me, when are you going back home? Home is where? Home is Detroit. And then you have to accept that. You have to tell your kid, this is where you live. This is your home. You have to focus here. You have to build this. And then this for me was a responsibility. I was like, okay, I have to create something in Swahili. Nobody have created. So Detroit is home.
Right.
And now say Detroit ni nyumbani. And people very relate to that a lot because I feel like people use a lot of Swahili word, but they never, had that word before. It's like, yeah, that's cool now. That's a cool slogan. That's how we feel. And then we feel like, honestly, Detroit is home. It's intentionally to build the community that we have because that's a way to say thank you and to give back to this amazing community that have been helping us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think in a lot of cities, the bigger cities have people from around the world more than kind of rural communities do. I'm being from London. I've lived in a few cities in America. I kind of gravitate to the cities because it is a mix of people, and you do have to, because you're all from somewhere else, you do have to form a community. And I feel that's very strong in Detroit. I love living in Detroit and seeing restaurants like yours come up, and the intentionality you start them with is great to see. And what's been maybe one thing, we'll talk about how you started it, but since you achieved it, since you launched the restaurant, since it opened, the doors were open, what's maybe something that happened that you kind of took you by surprise?
So we opened in November. We opened in 2021. Just COVID was still happening. 30%, 35% capacity. That was a requirement. We did, but opening at that time was like we can wait until COVID is over. But we've been doing this. We were working on this project for 3 years. So we had a lot of expenses. We were like, we don't have any other month to
Right.
So we have to open as soon as possible. And we opened. It was a little bit, slow. But after 1 month, the restaurant starts going crazy, like busy. Everything. That was a surprising for me. And then that is you think about something you've been working, this is a new concept. We are new in this city. Nobody have seen this. I remember we used to have this couple. They would come at least every day. And then...
At least every day? So sometimes twice a day?
Yeah, sometimes twice a day. Sometimes twice a day. At least every day. And then we're talking after like 7 months. And they were saying to me, we became friends, right? And they were saying to me, we used to make sure like we are coming every day because we were afraid that you're not going to survive.
Nice.
We were afraid that you're going to close even after, that for me was like, wow. And it's not the fear I had.
They're committed. They're all
committed.
in.
They did. They did. And that's what's surprising to me, how people responded to this. And then that's what I'm saying is like people will be, and then Americans are very not easy to try new thing. You have to work hard for them. And then for us, it was like, okay, let's at least try. Let's at least try. And we still have a lot of people who are still coming just to try. Oh, we heard about this restaurant. Let's go try. But for us, it's not only the restaurant. It's the community you're trying to build, right? It's a story that you are trying to tell. It's the example that we are trying to show. You can have, even our staff will tell them that when we hire them, it's like, we have how many restaurants in Detroit? A lot. We have how many restaurants in the country? A lot. So why are we the best restaurant? It's because you, me, our clients. So we have this thing that we use at the restaurant. So if we don't, any project we want to do, if it doesn't benefit our staff, we're not going to do it. If it doesn't benefit our community, we don't want to do it. If we don't make money from it, we don't. So if you miss these three things, we have to stop this project. So, it's because we want to try to make sure, like, we don't want to take anything for granted. We don't want to be comfortable, but we have to work hard for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with those principles you've talked about, I mean, and you've become not only successful but respected. And as we talk about, influence in the industry, I think you have really positive influence. I know you went on to the Chopped TV show and won that, and we'll talk about that more. But like you said, back to your principles, you donated the money that you won there. What was the thinking behind that? Was it? I know you didn't expect to win, but the moment you won, you just like you wanted to give back to the community.
Yeah, I feel like every step of life, anyone in this in this life, you have to think where I was yesterday or where I came from before, so you can make the right decision to know and to make sure like I'm going, I'm moving the one step forward, right? This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, I came here not to win when I was on Chopped, right? After winning, I was like, I came here not to win. I just came here to use this platform and to tell my story and to talk about Detroit, the city that I love. This is Detroit made who we are. That was my goal. Already achieved that. I won that already.
Right.
Second, I'm winning 10,000. I didn't plan for it. So I'm like, do I really need 10,000 right now? I live a very comfortable life, me and my family. 3 years ago, I didn't have this life. Right away, the question was like, yeah, what you gonna do, Mamba? I was like, I'm giving this money to Freedom House. Everybody was surprised. So really? Yeah, I'm giving them. Why? And then because I know they need this money more than I do. Freedom House has been doing a tremendous job in Detroit. And if as former alumni residents not supporting and telling this what they're doing, who's gonna do it? That is my responsibility. That was what came to my mind right away.
No, I think that's great. It's not just a phrase of giving back, but you've lived it, you've experienced it, and you know how important the work they do was to you. So you want to pass that on. So while we're talking about Freedom House, that's kind of a big part of your story of how you got here. We go back into Burundi. I know they've had some human rights issues. Actually, they're the first country that's left the International Criminal Court, which maybe isn't the greatest distinction to have, but maybe kind of shows that they kind of want to play by their own rules, and their own rules aren't always the greatest for human rights. So in 2013, your wife was had to leave because of she was helping people out in a human rights situation, and it was kind of blowing back on her. So when she left, you couldn't leave straight away, and you were waiting. Now, I'm not quite sure this detail. She left and she realized she was pregnant with your daughters. So I know you didn't come here till 2015. So did you not see your daughters for the first 2 years, or how did that work?
So she came here, and then she ended up at Freedom House, of course, and got there. She didn't know that she was pregnant. After 3 months, she knew she was pregnant. After a couple of months, she was pregnant with twins, right? And tried to apply visa. As a dad, you want to be there for the first time. I got denied for the first time. Okay, I was like, at least I can be there, celebrate their first year, so I can be there on their birthday. I missed that one too, and then until the second one. So I got here. I celebrated with them the second birthday. So I saw them for the first time. They were 2 years old. It's heartbreaking. It's a lot. And I was pretending to show and to be happy while living in Burundi, because you don't want to show anybody like I'm sad. It's like I don't know where she is. She's in trouble. I'm not living with her anymore. If asking, no, I think we are not together. She left. She did something bad to the country. I don't want to be with her.
Oh, so you almost had to play a role of that. You had enough of her and her awful activities of human rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't agree with her because I would be in trouble right away.
Right.
I didn't agree with her what she was doing. She left. I don't know anything about it, and then that I was, safe to stay there. I was like, oh, he's here, and then anything happen for a reason. The 2 years, if they see like me living, staying there for 2 years out, they're not living together anymore. But it's because I was not getting visa. That's why.
Right.
But nobody knew that. So that was my secret. So you live with a lot of secrets with you until I came here. So it was a big deal. So I remember I just got my citizenship. And that was a big moment after my interview. I was crying. And then the officer was asking me, why are you crying? I was like, I had a lot of things I've been holding for a long time. Now I feel like I'm free. Now I'm free to vote. I'm free to travel. I'm free to be someone. I'm free to be a human being, because that's how I felt like. If you don't belong anywhere, so how you feel, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that was the big thing. And then yesterday she has her interview and she won. She was so happy, you know. She was nervous. She was happy. She went through all the moments. It's like, can you believe I've been waiting for this moment in this country for 11 years?
Yeah.
So I can't even travel. I can't even do anything. So that is what you live in. That is what, and then at the end, you have to work hard for it. Yeah, which is not easy for me.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, work hard. I mean, I know a lot of people can relate to working hard, but I think a lot of people who grow up in America can't relate to the uncertainty that you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've grown up in a country with freedom, you know, as much as there's always things to improve about the United States. I mean, it's a great country for so much that it offers. But if you try and put yourself in the position of your wife is gone,
Mm-hmm.
you have to act like you've disowned her. You don't know what the future holds. You've got no amazing dream of, I'm going to open a restaurant. It'll be amazing. It's like, I just got to get out of this place and try and see my family. Yeah. So, you know, the name of the podcast we talk about is self-belief, you know, and that helps you rise to a position of influence. There must have been some pretty dark days. I know you kind of gloss over it, but there must be something that happens and it's nighttime and you're just like, it's been a year now. I haven't seen them. I don't know if I'm going to get my visa. Mm-hmm. I mean, how did you dig deep at those times?
So I feel like one thing I've been working hard with is I believe in God, right? I believe in every situation that is happening. When you have a problem, right? There is a reason why you have that problem. So how do you solve the problem, right? Because at the end of the day, in this life you're living in, you're going to have problems. So you have to think about, how am I solving a problem? Not, okay, am I having a problem? Let me cry. Or no, it's like, how am I going to get out of this problem? So take your time to digest that problem. Right away, find out. Even success, right? I remember sometimes when we have this big award or success and everything, my wife used to tell me, and she's still saying that, is like, you don't get excited. You don't get it. First of all, I don't want those things to get in my head. Right. Second, I know every success or everything will come with a problem. If you get an award, if you get chopped, all those things, what's going to happen? You're going to have a lot of clients. You got to be ready after that success. So get ready that something's going to be challenging. It's coming. So after all these things, like, okay, I have a problem. Okay, what next? I have this success. What next? So I'll always think about what's next, right? You have a problem. Okay. Are you the only one to have that problem? No, you're not even the last one. Right. So that's how I absorb. That's how I digest it. I was like, okay, it's not the first time you get this problem. I grew up, I didn't even know that I'm going to have lunch. So I'm asking myself, Mamba, is this the first time you're getting this problem? No. All your life you've been having problems. But the problem is not to have a problem, how you solve that problem. And then that has been something that I'm so happy with. And that's why I keep my leg on the ground. It's like, okay, things will come and go, right? I didn't plan to be in the United States today. This was not a plan that I had. And I'm enjoying the moment, but anything can happen at any time.
Yeah. I know we had spoken about it wasn't a great plan when you were young to one day go to Europe, to go to America. You know, the situation came up. You applied for asylum to Europe, didn't work, and you applied to America and it worked. Was it just random how your wife got placed in Detroit? And then if you want to spend a minute or two, just tell us exactly about Freedom House and some of the great work they do.
So Freedom House is a shelter or a house where all refugees around the world will come and get shelter, legal support, food, medical assistance until, so it's the United States and Canada. So if you're coming to this country and you want to cross the border to Canada, you can stay there in transition until you get your paperwork so you can cross the border. And if you want to stay in the United States, so they help you until you get your work authorization. So once you get your work authorization, you get a job. Either you can stay there until you save some money, or use back in the day, they used to help you with the rent, so then you can start your new life. Great program, the only one in the country that have that program. You have a lot of shelters in this country, but there is not one that have that specific program. When, like for example, me and Nadia coming here, we didn't have anybody around. So you can imagine a lot of people who come from the airport straight to Freedom House, and they don't know anybody. They don't speak the language, and then after 6 months, 1 year, they start a new life. So that is a huge tool that this country should be proud of.
Yeah. So when you joined, I know we've talked about starting businesses. We talk about that a lot on this podcast, but starting a restaurant can be daunting. But did you think everything you've been through before, starting a restaurant isn't actually that daunting?
Again, for me, was this starting a restaurant or starting a business was a survival exit.
Right.
So I have a degree in business and marketing and business. So I did have a background in marketing and sales.
Just to interrupt you a minute, I know we talked about you keeping the vision in mind. So when you're having those dark days, you were like, I know what I'm doing this for. My vision is to get out of here. So once you achieve that vision and you're here, you're like, okay, I've got to build a new vision now, something new to hold on to. Was that part of the survival?
First of all, it's not a vision. You don't have a vision at that time.
Right.
First of all, you want to just solve that problem that you have. And then
problem solved, you're here. Now
Yes.
you've got to find something else to solve.
Exactly.
Right.
So problem solved over here is like, okay, learn from there what we need, where we need to go from here. And then again, once you get there, you're not alone. You have a team, you have people. You have to ask them, where are we going from here? So I used to say, I started this by myself. And then I owned the business by myself, first of all. And then after, I owned it with Nadia. Now, I feel like I don't own anything. Because you have a team that make decisions. Sometimes you bring this decision to the table, they say no. That's what I love about this. How this can humble you. How this business have humbled me and Nadia to make sure like this is not for you, it's for the team, right? So the vision now is not for me. It's for, and then I love it because I don't have to solve the problem by myself. I have to cry with everybody. Because before I used to cry alone, after I used to cry just me and Nadia. So now we can cry with others. So the vision now is for, again, but the core value is we have to solve a problem that is there. Yeah.
So what's your next problem that you're going to go solve?
I think the next problem now is to grow and keep open, feed more people.
Right.
Yeah, feed more people. That means open more businesses. The goal now is we just bought a building on East Side to open a second location. We have a food truck. We are building our own kitchen, not Freedom House kitchen, because we have a program with. So this is our own kitchen that's gonna serve the food truck and the street food. And we have a market. Soko, the Soko by Baobob Fair is a market there where we have our product, that we have a retail product, and then we feature other artists and other farmers around the world. So we sell their product to this market. So that is our next problem and then the next problem, as I said, on market, like nobody knows about Burundi and nobody knows about farmers in Burundi, all these talented people that we have in Africa. The problem is to highlight them. How can we highlight this problem? How can we highlight these people? And we are building a platform to highlight others. Again, we believe the African diaspora or African Burundian diaspora has, we've been in Canada and United States for a long time, but we never had the voice because we were alone without collaborating with others. This is our goal. Our goal is to bring people together so we can collaborate. We can do something bigger because you can't do by yourself.
It's interesting because it seems like the world's perception sometimes of Africa is sort of this, like Keith was talking about, how it's the last place in terms of like this unhappy spot, right? Like, so I think the perception automatically can be negative, and I feel like we also experience that in the city of Detroit too, right? Where we have these, you have a while ago we had this problem of ruin porn, where it was this idea that like everybody go through the city and capture all these images of these, you know, run down, just desolate areas, and it was sort of this, you know, photography fad. So that's just very interesting to me. That, and I'm curious, like, what's the next plan to expose more of those ideas? And you said you had the market, but beyond that, do you have any other like community oriented things that you're trying to do?
Yeah, you know, when you say like you're on your ranking, you know, those, you know, happy place or happy places, I would say, you is what you want or your community want to see. But you don't ask us what we want, you know, and what we see. And that is not fair for me sometimes. It's because you are privileged to have the life that you have. Someone who doesn't have that life that you have, you think they are not happy. So we can talk about all those. And then that is what we are trying to do. If you have opportunity or success or a privilege or luxury, you have to make sure you bring other people so they can have that opportunity that you have. Lift somebody else who doesn't have that. Because it's not fair for me to feel like I have all these things and somebody next to me doesn't have it. And then sometimes it's a very easy thing. It's just information. Or $1,000, which is nothing, that you can buy a phone that you can send to Africa and give to someone, can be happy, right? So it's all about how you see things. Like, and then that is all the time comes being selfish. Just think about you, don't think about others. It's like, how can we solve a problem? Like, for example, in Burundi right now, we always say, and then I'm so proud of our youth and a new generation that is starting now. Is like, okay, politicians have failed to solve the problem that we have and we've been having. How about as youth can change these things by investing more in Burundi and creating more jobs? If you're waiting for the government to create jobs, they have failed for 45 years. So we have to let's work together so we can bring job, we can do something. That's the only way. So people don't do whatever you want as a politician. We don't care about what you're doing because we don't expect any changes. So let's come back together so we can change things by creating jobs, investing more, you know, putting something. They're going to feel like, oh, they have to come back to the table so we can sit down. So I feel like that is my mission now, is to, you know, to make sure we are investing more money in Burundi and pay more fair pay to coffee farmers. That is where my focus is right now. Going back there, pay more to farmers, send a lot of girls to school, send them to school. That is one thing that I'm focused with on to the continent. That is where I'm going, and then that is where my mind is.
And why wouldn't the girls go to school? I know people in America may think, you know, you've heard of the Taliban, it's religion. It's not religion in Burundi? They don't go to school, it's just they need to work? Or
it's not religion because it's a cultural thing that they feel like men have to provide everything at home, and for them it's like you have to prepare a boy to be a provider and to be a girl to just stay, you know, home, do little thing. And then it's not fair because men, we have failed. Even in Burundi, we have failed. So why we don't try? Because if you see the women, how they handle things, even at home, right? It's different how we handle things. I'm sure 100% if it will be women handling the things like in Burundi, that the same opportunity that men has, wouldn't have the same problem that today, that the crisis that we are facing now. So for me, it's like women's we care more than men's. So why we don't giving them the chance to make decision?
Do you think is it a pride thing? You had said earlier there was like to admit that you needed help, whether like you were saying about the lunch programs or people saying, hey, I need help from the community. And do you think that's the same idea with putting the onus on the man of like, you have to provide, we have to provide, we don't have time for the girls to go to school, we don't have the money for the girls to go to school?
Absolutely, it's a pride thing, and then I think it's a culture thing. It's a very, very culturally that we have to relate on men's, and unfortunately, if you see what's happening in our houses, we relate on women's in Burundi more, because I remember like my mom, she was the one who was hustling, have a small restaurant, working, I don't know how many, 120 hours a week. Yeah. And she never be recognized that she's doing that job, right? And all the praises was coming to my dad. And if you see, compared to who's working hard, was her. And that is what made me feel like, no, I have an example. My mom, how she was hustling, how she was working hard, how she was changing things. Imagine you have at least 500,000 women who has that capacity and who can be recognized, how many things they can change. If you can make Mamba, you can make a lot of Mambas. And I know a lot of moms out there, they made even, great people. Again, I'm not trying to say like men doesn't do nothing. No. I'm trying to say we have to be at least somewhere where we understand like they have a lot of things to share. We can bring them to the table now, and they can give us advices.
Your wife, look what she did. She went to the community to help the community, and it forced her from the country.
Absolutely, and then that people don't even. And then people talk about Mamba, Mamba, but 85% of people who make decisions who are behind this success are women at the Barbara Fair.
We should have had Nadia in here. You can leave now, man.
Yeah, exactly. So you should. But again, Nadia, she's in that position. Growing up as Burundian, she's very shy. She's do a lot of work behind the scenes.
So that's more of a comfort zone. She doesn't want to be front and center.
Yes, she would perform a lot there. But I think it's my responsibility to tell, hey, Mamba, don't take the credit or anything. She's the one who is doing all these things, right? If you see our kitchen, it's only moms, women, most of them from Africa, Argentina, Haiti, Congo. So we have, and this is what makes us, we never faced staffing problem that restaurant industry have going through, because we have solid, they care, they know this is what's what happened. You come there, you have to say hi. Even myself, I have to say hi, good morning, mom. So they have created that, culture.
You helped create that culture, though.
They have created. I don't want to take any. They have created, because they get there and then they will, in the meetings, they will announce things like simple things like, we have a new staff who doesn't say hi, and that's going to be a big deal. We're going to talk about that. And then for Americans, sometimes it's normal. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't have to say hi when I don't feel like. No, you have to.
Right.
You have to. Feel it or no, but you have to. So to make understanding people that you have to say hi, I didn't create that culture. They created. That's what I love about Baobob Fair, is the way we are. It's a team. It's a team. It's a community that we have created.
Now, obviously, you open a restaurant and there's the nuts and bolts of running it and things that you'll learn by mistake. You talk about the great culture you have. Is there a time where maybe it took a bit of working out the kinks? Like, did you ever have to fire a team member? What went wrong? Do you blame yourself? Did you not set the right expectations? How did you adjust after it?
Yeah, sometimes I remember I had to fire someone who was great for me, but didn't get well with the team. And it was a culture shock, and I felt bad because the person didn't know better than, he was growing here. He didn't know better than that. We tried. and didn't work out, so we have to let him go. And I felt so bad because he was crying. He loved the environment, but you can see he cannot change after trying many times. And you have to make those tough decisions sometimes. You have to make some tough decision because of the group, of the team. Not for you, but for everybody. I have
Sure.
a lot of things that you see, like, I wish this could run this way. That's why I'm saying is like they humble me a lot. And then now I can bring a proposal, I can bring a project to the table that we say no. You can imagine the ego thing is like, oh my goodness, I started this thing and you're telling me no.
Right.
But after you say no, yeah, this is things that's have to change. So you have to understand that it's not for you, it's for the whole team. Yeah. Again, the same time they can bring something, we say no. They will feel the same thing because they belongs there. So it's equal. So and then that is what I love, and I've changed a lot. I grew enough to now to understand it's not for me, it's for everybody. Because when I'm not there, they're here. So it's all of us together.
Now, how old are your daughters now?
10.
10.
Yeah.
What do they think of the restaurant? I mean, it's probably normal to them. Do they like going in there? Are they interested in it? Or it's just, that's mum and dad's job?
They love it. They
Yeah.
love it, and they grow up in the. We started the restaurant. We started doing pop-up. We started doing. We are 3 years old. They have grown in this. They have seen the only thing they see us doing is this, and they mostly I think they appreciate everything. From when we had only 1-bedroom apartment, we moved to 2-bedroom apartment. Now we have our own house. They have seen how life has changed in front of their eyes in 10 years of their life, from the shelter to being where they are right now. So they appreciate it. They appreciate every single moment, and they will tell us honestly, like, you guys work so hard, and they will understand. Sometimes when I miss a game, they will understand those things. We talk about it. We wish we could be there, but we understand, and then I will give them explanation. They empathize a lot, and they understand. I hope they can, and then we try to always tell them that there is a lot of people out there. Their own cousin doesn't have the choices that they have in the morning to have at least 5 or 7 cereals, different brands. Those are small things that your cousins still don't have water. They will walk miles to get the water. So we try to remind them where they came from. We visit a lot Freedom House. We used before COVID. We used to visit Freedom House. They can remember where they came from. So we try to show them this is a transition of life.
Is it possible for you, or maybe not your wife, or for you to go back to Burundi, or wouldn't be safe, or you want to take the kids back there one day?
Yeah, the plan is to go this December, because we are all of 4 of us are U.S. citizens, so we will have the passport, we have that protection. So the goal is to go back and they can see our roots and where we came from.
Oh, beautiful. Now, my daughter, she's 16, but I remember she was around about 5. We were just speaking to someone, and I have an accent. My wife has an accent. People asking us where we're from. I said, I'm from England. My wife said, I'm from Romania originally. And then kind of she just piped up. She's like, I'm American.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so she, even at 5, because she was born here, she felt very American. Do your daughters feel very American? And
very American.
What are some of your hopes and dreams for them?
Let them be American.
Yeah,
because again,
but grounded in their roots. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can, and another thing is like, some people would think like being an American is not a good thing, right? But they can still be American.
Why would people expand on that? Why would people think that? I mean, I think
we
feel
abuse.
There's so many nice, wonderful things about that, but what would be the negative of that?
I think Americans, they abuse about the opportunity they have. They don't see and appreciate the opportunities and what they have. Sometimes they take it for granted. And that we bring that, not appreciate those moments.
Right.
I feel like if you take it and appreciate it, and you have that balance, right? The opportunity, don't take it for granted, work hard for it. You will appreciate it, you'll be proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I want them to be American because they are American.
Yeah.
They will never be accepted in Burundi. And I want them to focus where they are and claim and work hard for the country that have given them birth and chance and make them who they are. Also, be strong and have those roots for where they came from. And then I feel like this is the country where everybody is feel the same thing, and then like that is their responsibility to work hard and to keep that to preserve that amazing the things that this country is, makes it this is the where every people come from all over the world, and we have to preserve that thing. And then I feel for me is my responsibility to tell them, hey, we will never be Burundian. You are American, but you have this root that's going to help you to be a better person.
Yeah, one of the questions that we ask kind of all our guests is, what are 3 compliments you would give yourself about some qualities that you have? But I think as you're raising your kids in this country, what are 3 qualities that you really help or installed into them? I mean, we talk about appreciation and that sort of thing. As you look at your girls as they grow older and just as people, what are 3 qualities that you hope they have that would help you be extra proud of them?
Respect and say hi to people. Look everybody in the eyes and hug people, hug strangers. We do that a lot. I remember one time at school, they had to call us, like, your kids give a lot of hugs to strangers. I was like, that is weird. Of course. What you want? We don't want them to, for me, it was like, you have to keep that, respect people. Always remember where we came from, right? That is very, very important. Appreciation, I would say. I would say that is what's mostly important thing for me. Make it easy. I always tell them, make it easy that people can love you, and that is if you respect people, people will love you. So I'll tell them. Then I'll always tell them, make it easy that people can love you. So I wouldn't even say 3. It's just one thing.
Right.
Yeah. Just be nice, and be polite and respect people.
Sure. Well, personally, it's been easy for me to love you over the past year, getting to know you and appreciate kind of our friendship. And I know we bond a lot over soccer. And
yes.
Just to kind of wrap up, you talked about a food truck. I know you're at the DCFC games. You've got another potential site opening soon on the east side. What's the Baobob Fair community going to look like in 5 years?
I feel like we try to focus for us is to stay in Detroit, right? We had a lot of offers to go out. We can go a little bit out of but we are not trying to go in another state, because I think we have a responsibility to build and to sell Detroit out of Detroit.
You don't even want to go Metro Detroit? Maybe.
Metro Detroit, yeah, we can go Metro Detroit. We can go a little bit
so potentially out. Macomb, Oakland, that sort of thing. But mainly Wayne County you're looking to stay?
Yeah, I would say that now, because if you say 5 years, we will have 2 locations, 2 food truck, 1 kitchen, 1 online store, and then for us is to open the soccer, like physical a shop. I would say in 5 years, we're still around here. We're still around here. Make this community stronger and make this community to be proud of what they have created. They have created Baobob Fair. They have created. So we want to make sure like we bond. We want to have that cliche, or that this is a Detroit brand, has started in Detroit. That is where the focus is. The focus to make sure like we are getting our strong, business right here. We're building something in Detroit. Yeah, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Mamba, we loved having you here, and if you guys haven't been to this restaurant yet, definitely go. So many great dishes, and definitely get the avocado dessert at the end. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith.
Nate, let's ruminate. What a interesting chat with Mamba there.
Yeah, his story is, inspirational feels like an understatement. Really to understand what people can go through, and just understanding like a journey, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I think when you delve into it and you understand all the struggles he went through, I feel we've seen in America, we've seen inspirational movies of, people coming up against the odds and that sort of thing. And there's been people who've had harder stories than him, but I think we kind of gloss over it without really putting yourself in the shoes of what it is compared to your troubles. Do you want to put things in perspective? For him to achieve what he's achieved is great, and he's going to go on and achieve a lot more. And then he really is, I love that he's building a community. It's not just about this guy came here and did this. It's like he built this with a community.
Absolutely, and his willingness to share his story. I mean, it's almost like he sounds obligated to share his story. I mean, going on Chopped and sharing his story, coming here, sharing his story, going to other podcasts to talk about doing other things and sharing the story. It's just like, I'm just so glad that he's doing that, because I feel like it's so easy to say, oh, woe is me, I can't do this, or something gets in your way and you quit, you fall down, you say, oh, it wasn't for me. And it's hearing that story. If you can't find something in you after hearing that story to keep on, or just to fight for the next day, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just, it just made me think with the community stuff it's a it's not a double-edged sword, but it's the way I feel like America at times, we don't have the community, but at times they have like an amazing community. Because when I came here and, some of the early times when I was, in limbo and between visas and that sort of thing is, people were very generous to me, very helped me out. And, I'm thankful to those people to this day. But then on other times you feel like, you don't have the community you have growing up in Europe or, Africa, these small, tight-knit communities. At times, America does feel like it's kind of moved away from that. Mm-hmm. But I know it hasn't in a lot of ways.
Do you think that's like individuals helped you, right? But then groups sort of come together and create this like this. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
I guess my thing is there in America, and it always is there, and it's there now. And in this podcast, we don't want to, talk about politics and division, but just the division itself. And I think no matter what your view on many topics is, I think we are all we agree way more on many things than we disagree on.
Yeah,
and I just think when everyone focuses on that fact rather than a few issues where you may have very opposite opinions, mm-hmm. and you just come together and you do things for each other, then the disagreements just aren't that big a deal. I mean, they're a big deal in certain ways, but if you build a strong community, then you really are the strongest, greatest country around. And America has that, and I feel like America gets weak at times when it moves away from the fact that we're all in it together, mm-hmm. and the division crap.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that is like so inspirational about his story is that, I mean, being successful in a restaurant and as successful as he's been with, nothing. No support system. Him and his wife coming here, refugees, and to build something, and not just to build something, but to build it as quick as he has.
Well, yeah, one thing, again, part of the community, one thing we didn't touch on in the interview is that they did get some grants. They did win the Hatch Award. It's a grant program in Detroit, so that's $50,000 to mm-hmm. help them. But again, you have to build community. You have to build people wanting to vote for you. There's other people vying for that award as well.
100%. So, and you have to work hard. And submitting all the paperwork and doing all the lead work. That's getting a grant like that is difficult.
Yeah.
And it's just such an inspirational story. It's at a loss.
And apart from inspirational story, it's great food.
That's true too.
So try the restaurant. If you go to a DCFC game, they have a food truck there as well, and it's a nice atmosphere with great food.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love getting to speak to Mamba and really just trying to find out not just his story. To me, his story is way more than a restaurant. It's just dealing with adversity, that self-belief. He talked about how he attached his vision, which was solving he's problem solving. That's how he got out of those tough moments, and now he's a big influencer in Detroit. A lot of people look at him. He's had some national spotlights, piece on him in the New York Times, on TV shows, and people are really seeing how you build community around restaurants and a theme.
Absolutely. And another podcast we did, his journey was survival. David talked about survival, winning that next day. Don't have a choice. This is going to be successful, and I'm going to bust my ass, make it happen. You made it happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing he said that it's stuck in my brain now, and I just love it. If you really want to appreciate something, look behind you. Don't look in front of you. And I thought that's like such a great way to really appreciate what you have.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I no idea memory of who told me this, but you're always driving forward, but you can't drive successfully without checking your rearview mirror from time to time. And as long as you keep doing that, keep checking your mirrors, there'll be a safe drive, right?
That's right.
I think that's important. And yeah, I mean, I speaking to Mamba is one of many great stories we'll be telling about people in Detroit and who have what we feel is interesting stories. And I liked hearing about Burundi and the struggles, because ultimately where we're from shapes us so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Nate.